Welcome to the I Get Better podcast with your hosts, Charlene Renee and Phaedra Smith, where we discuss topics related to life, love, mental, physical, and spiritual health, and how we can all get better together.
Welcome back to the I Get Better podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Renee.
And I'm your host, Phaedra Smith.
And today we are going to be talking about how I get better when I apologize.
So difficult for some people.
I know. But we're going to get better at that today.
Yes. So, as usual, we like to start by defining the word or phrase of the day, because the ability to define gives us the ability to fulfill. So, the definition of an apology is a regretful acknowledgement to an offense or failure. I like to tack on to that would be, I think about the religious way that we think of apologizing is the word we use, repent. But as I was able to study more about that word, it actually means to change. So that has allowed me to revise my definition of what an apology looks like. I really don't care about the I do care about somebody saying sorry, because for me, that's a big deal for somebody to be able to acknowledge something. But on top of that, I really feel like in the long term, a change really is the thing that matters.
Yeah. And I've also heard that about repenting, it being the confession and then the turning away from. Yeah. So you confess what you did and then you change. Like you said, you shift direction. So it's not just about acknowledging, but also, putting effort to not repeat the same mistake or failure or whatever may be offense to someone, because sometimes we do things unintentionally.
Right.
And so we just apologize for those things, and then we don't.
Yes.
We try not to do it again. But sometimes we repeat mistakes. We're all human, so it doesn't necessarily automatically going to bring forth change, but at least it's a step in the right direction.
Well, but also just to tack on to that, there is a difference between a mistake and a bad habit. So, which we will get into that a little bit later when we talk about ways to overcome maybe issues with apologizing. But let's talk about why it's so important. Why is apologizing important to you, Charlene?
Well, in any relationship, it's important to be able to recognize and acknowledge when you have made a mistake. So you're not going to be able to be in a relationship with anyone and never, at least a long-term close relationship, whether it's a partner, spouse, or a dating relationship, or even just family, friends, co-workers, where you aren't going to make some sort of mistake. But apologizing is the first step and gives you the awareness that you've done something that you aren't proud of, and you really want to make amends and you want to be better. And so you are able to acknowledge that, which is difficult to do for some people, myself included, and give you that catalyst for change. So I think it's very important to the health of a relationship if you're able to apologize when you're wrong.
Right. And that takes us into the consequences of not being able to apologize. And one of the things that I wrote down was that some of us have just a negative core belief about what apologizing means. And we can tend to get this from our childhood. And I talk a lot about our family of origin and how that plays a big role in how we are today. But we really do adapt like definitions and roles and behaviors based off of what we grew up seeing in our childhood. So even if mom and dad didn't teach you to not apologize by saying you never apologize, but they could have taught you by you never seeing them apologize. And so they modeled poor behavior. You saw the fight, but you never saw the makeup. You know what I'm saying? So that's another way that we learn, negative beliefs, and we learn negative definitions that we run our lives by. So if I apologize, I'm weak. That's something that we could have picked up along the way in our childhood.
I also think some of the consequences of failing to apologize is that it can cause a lot of damage to a relationship. So you may end up burning some bridges with people, not being able to continue in relationship with people because you are just holding on to this belief. People may lose a level of trust in you because they don't believe that you will take responsibility for your behaviors nor make an effort to change because you refuse to apologize. And it also ends up prolonging the anger. Now, this isn't the person who did the offense's responsibility necessarily to be responsible for how long someone stays angry, but it most certainly does not help them be able to release the anger when you do not acknowledge the mistake that you made by apologizing. You may acknowledge it and still not apologize because some people are very clever in that way where they will acknowledge the mistake but they will not apologize for it. And so it does make a big difference when you're trying to correct or repair a wrong. It may not immediately, alleviate that anger or that feeling that the other person has about the situation. And sometimes people aren't angry and they still want you. They still respect the fact that you apologize for something. But when you aren't able to do that, you really will end up in the long run seeing damage to your interpersonal relationships.
Right. No, I agree with that. And I like to add that damage might not look like we don't talk anymore or we broke up. The damage might look like, wow, something has shifted in my relationship with this person. It looks like we're not as close as we used to, and I'm not sure what changed. But at times, a lot of people will start to put up, boundaries because they realize that it is somewhat dangerous or they have to be cautious in the relationship with you, like a person that, and so your relationship tends to be a little less authentic or a little less, your bond doesn't seem to be as close as it used to be. So things change. And so I think ultimately you end up really hurting yourself because you don't have those relationships that really are as close as you want them to be. So ultimately you really do lose out in some of your goals that maybe you set for yourself, which is maybe to have close relationships with your family or friends, or to be able to have that with a person. Did you mention maybe possibly burning bridges with your career goals, Charlene?
No, I didn't, but that certainly can be an issue. If you are causing trouble and making mistakes and unapologetic about it, and you may find yourself in a position where you'll be a difficult hire, you'll be a difficult person to get a good reference when you need to move on to another position. So even in the workplace, it's important to be able to admit when you're wrong and apologize and take responsibility. For sure. That's a good point.
I think ultimately we really crave, as human beings, we crave stability and safety. And so I think that it's important to be able to acknowledge that you play a huge role in creating that for yourself. And so if you cannot maintain stable relationships by apologizing, for example, or acknowledging things and changing, then you are also responsible for you having to move from job to job or relationship to relationship or whatever. So those are a few consequences. Did you have anything to add on that?
No, I think we covered them. I think we can start talking about what are those barriers. So what are those things that prevent us from being able to apologize regularly, readily, without a struggle. Yeah. So one of the biggest things is pride.
Yes.
Having that pride that just would not allow you to admit when you're wrong. They say that pride goes before the fall or before destruction. And I definitely believe that to be true.
For sure. Well, I mentioned earlier that the negative beliefs, and I meant to put that here, but that's also a barrier, is having that negative belief or those things that run through your mind that you were taught during childhood about what apology looks like or feels like, or what does it say about me if I have to apologize, So getting a new, really trying to figure out what's going on in my head, what's stopping me from apologizing. I think that is a huge thing. So another barrier is that negative belief, childhood stuff.
Yeah. Or negative belief could encompass that pride, being in a state of arrogance, stubbornness, just being stubborn and saying, I'm not gonna apologize. I don't care if I did do something wrong, for whatever reason. But there's a belief system behind that would even allow you to stand on that, firm on that principle. So I think some people legitimately have a personality disorder that prevents them from being able to see clearly when they are wrong and acknowledge it and apologize for it.
Yeah.
Now, that's not a barrier that would be easily changed or removed if that's the case. Right. But being aware of it is a start. If you know, okay, I have this issue that prevents me from being able to do this, then I'm just going to have to work that much more harder.
Yeah. I agree. And the thing about personality disorders is that if you have it, you most likely will never acknowledge that you have it. So we will go into that and we talk about ways to get better, because then you probably will need a third party that you trust to help you get to that point. But you mentioned something earlier, Charlene, like a little quote that you came up with about if you're finding yourself losing relationships or something like that.
Yeah, let's just jump in, because I think we're going to talk about that when we talk about getting better, how to get better. But we can, because I think we touched on what little barriers are. So what are some things you can do to get better at apologizing? So one of the things is and you kind of touched on it, is to get in a place of self-reflection. So when you do that, you need to look in the mirror. You need to ask yourself, if I keep losing these relationships, if I burn these many bridges, nobody seems to stick around, I don't understand why, then, maybe you are the problem. Maybe it's you. The issue is you, right? And so you need to find out, why is it that I can't maintain these healthy relationships? Why are people turning their backs on me? And if you're finding that it's happening to you a lot, it's not always going to be that it's everybody else who's against you. Maybe you just don't know how to apologize. Maybe you haven't been acknowledging mistakes to other people, and eventually people just don't want to put up with that. And so they distance themselves from you. Yeah. So one of the things you want to do to get better is get better at self-reflection and thinking about, okay, what can I do differently? What haven't I been doing in my relationships with people? Maybe I need to let go of this pride and stubbornness and change these beliefs and shift to a different perspective. So another thing would be to get, like you said, an accountability partner. So you want to explain a little bit more about what an accountability partner is?
I think honestly, an accountability partner can be anything from a trusted mentor, a pastor that you trust and you feel like you could have a good relationship with, or to a friend, or to a family member that's going to tell you the truth no matter what. I think that that's really important, to have people in your life that you can laugh and kiki with, but also they're gonna say, nah, bro, that wasn't cool, or you probably need to apologize because you that was kind of suspect what you did, so
you wrong for that. You're wrong for that.
Yeah.
Like you don't even necessarily have to make it real serious, but somebody you dead wrong.
Yeah, I agree. So I think having that type of person in your life is going to be helpful to help you. I think those types of relationship, and I'll go ahead and put it in there, a therapist for some people is that person. But people like that, having somebody like that, they serve as like a mirror. So you're able to really see yourself and see some of your behaviors, and they're able to say, you know what, I don't know if you paid attention to this, but you've gone through like 5 relationships and they've all ended because you said that they betrayed you. Something sounds suspicious, so really, like, they really help us to self-explore and examine, especially if we have an issue with being able to really see internally ourselves. we have those relationships in our life and if you don't have that, that might be another issue. Again, why don't you have at least one person in your circle that you can trust? And what do you need to do to get that support? Because that's also imperative in you becoming the person that you want to be.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, let's talk about how to apologize.
Yes.
So the different types of apologies and what you can do, because it's not all just about saying I'm sorry, right, or the actual words of I apologize, because that doesn't always work.
No. I know when me and my husband first got married, in the first few years of our marriage, that was difficult because, first of all, he would not apologize with his words. And then, because he was just the type that, you know, he just wanted to move on. And I'm like, nah, we're not going to be able to move past this until I hear an acknowledgement. And that was a big deal for me. So for me, that was a big deal. And then I didn't know what I needed also. So he started bringing flowers and stuff. And then I was like, don't bring me no more flowers. Like, I'm sick of this. Like, I started getting on the repent side. Okay. Like, let's start repenting now. Like, I need you to acknowledge, but then also make a change. So.
Right. And I think that's so cliche, right? Every show, every movie, every TV show has always had, oh, if a guy's bringing flowers, what did he do wrong?
Yeah.
What did he do wrong? Like, I don't know who invented that idea of I need to apologize with flowers and every woman wants flowers and all that nonsense. But don't bring me no more. Don't bring me no more Publix $12.99 bouquets.
Not more. Don't bring me no more.
I don't want it. Okay.
So I know you've heard of the 5 love languages, but there's also there are 5 apology languages.
Okay.
And so one is expressing regret, accepting responsibility, making restitution, genuinely repenting, and requesting forgiveness. And so I think sometimes, depending on the person, they might need this to move forward. So obviously it's not all on you for the relationship to be repaired. There's another party involved that has to be willing to make the repair. But I think the apology and the way in which you apologize is a part of the repair. And so I think that that's also very important. And when we talk about repairs, are you willing to make repairs in your relationship? Because I think that also that's a big deal, and why some people don't apologize, because some people are so used to just cutting people off at the first, whatever problem, that they are just not willing to make repairs or be the responsible party for being an assistant in the repairs. And so
because then that goes both ways when you're saying being willing to repair a relationship, because it not only is the apology gives you the opportunity to extend a branch for repairs, but it also gives the other person the opportunity to practice the art of forgiveness.
Right.
And if they never get that experience because you never apologize, or they just decide they will forgive you without the apology. But we talked about that on our I Get Better When I Forgive podcast. Yeah. But it doesn't give the both of you the opportunity to learn how to learn from your mistakes, or practice how to learn from your mistakes when you fail to apologize. And so about that how to apologize piece too, you also don't want to be insincere or fake with your apology, or be patronizing with it, right, and kind of sarcastic, and because that's not going to be taken very well. I can tell you that from experience. Nobody wants to hear those phony apologies. No. They really need to be sincere, but not overutilized, because you also don't want to take that as, well, this is my get out of jail free card. I just have to hurry up and say I'm sorry, and then I can just continue doing what I want to do.
Right. No, I agree. If you so if you look at the 5lovelanguages.com, you can take a little quiz on your love language, but also you can take a quiz on your apology language. So I think,
oh wow, I didn't know that. I should do that then.
yes. So it's the I guess it's the 5lovelanguages.com. And so I think it's pretty cool because it goes through those love languages, and it also goes through the 5 apology languages. And so what does it take for you? What type of apology do you need to move forward? And I think that's helpful in your relationship so that your partners and friendships know. But also, I think it's helpful for you to know, so you can also learn these different apology languages so that in your relationship with other people, you know maybe what they might need. And so that's also important. And then the last thing was just, again, revising our definition of, asking yourself, what have I told myself that an apology really means? Like, am I telling myself that it means I'm weak or I'm a loser or whatever? And so being able to really look back at that and say, what am I telling myself, and revising that definition? Because I think at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to lose out in these genuine and authentic and long lasting relationships in your life. If you're not able to be humble and be vulnerable with people and trust people enough to apologize and make repairs. So yeah, this is a good one. I like this one just as much as I like forgiveness, because I do think they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, we did forgiveness a long time ago. So this is the sister cousin to the forgiveness episode, but I think it's necessary. I think we needed to follow up with the how to apologize episode. So good stuff as usual. We're gonna toot our own horns because we can do that.
Yes,
because it is good stuff. I'm not being biased, I don't think so. But yeah, we want to get better at apologizing, of course, and forgiveness. So after you listen to this episode, go back and listen to the forgiveness episode, because people should start apologizing more. So now you'll be ready to forgive them when they do.
Yes, and take the quiz. I'm gonna take it also.
I'm gonna take it, yes, and then we can post what our results are.
Yes. Okay, so that's our time for today. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe.
Share, comment. We want your feedback. We want to hear from you. We want to engage with you. We keep on emphasizing this. So let us know what you want to hear, what you want to talk about. Inbox us.
Yes. So if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you can direct message us. You can get our contact information off of there, and certainly engage with us on our pages and ask questions and things like that, about topics and things like that you want to hear. So until next time, let's keep getting better so we can do better in order to be better.